are involved in the Mexican cartel because they lure in kids to do their dirty work, like the smuggling part, because kids are less suspicious, and if they were to get caught, the charges wouldn't be as severe because they're still adolescents. Go with Amelia's last comment. Even though all those kids are younger than 25, they're all like easily lured in because of the money, and because they know people are being killed, but they also want the money because it's really easy. And after taking one case over the border, they get $4,000 just for that one case.
Many of the Colombian drug runners say they have absolutely no choice because they all have goals and stuff in life, but to protect their families, there's almost no choice but to join a cartel.
In Colombia, because of the influence of the cartels, farmers have to grow coca, which is what is used to make cocaine, and it's not edible, so most of the farmers starve because they don't have enough money to buy other foods besides coca.
The Mexican cartels has now killed more than 22,000 people.
One city that's at the epicenter of all the drugs is Juarez, Mexico. 2,000 people were killed in the past 14 months, and 80% of them were younger than the age of 25.
The Mexican cartel is really violent. They would post letters around town on who they were going to kill next, like a police officer. And what they would do is they would decapitate them, and they would put their heads like in the middle of the streets. And at one time, there were 14 people killed, and in a resort town this year, there was 31 people killed and decapitated.
There were 22 dead bodies found about 20 minutes away from the border, and out of the 22 bodies, there were 4 of them that were Americans, and they're unidentified because they're dead and their heads are cut off.
In Colombia, they killed several government officials, like presidential candidates and also the Colombian president.
One person from the Colombian cartel, Pablo Escobar, was said to be responsible for 100 government official deaths.
Alright, also about Escobar, he's said to have killed at least 3,500 civilians and over 500 police officers.
The Mexico cartel, some of the kids are called the Lost Generation because they're as young as 12 years old, and the Mexican cartel would actually hire 17 or 16-year-olds from the U.S. to drive back and forth on the border to take shiploads. They call them mules of drugs from back and forth.
Comments: in 1 year, 80,000 adolescents ages 12 to 17 have been used to smuggle drugs.
Drug cartels in Mexico control 70% of the narcotics that flow into the U.S.
Okay, to go on with Cecilia's comment about the 70% of narcotics that Mexico sends to the United States, they also send 90% of the United States cocaine that we have, and it's not even their main, like that's not the main drug that they produce or anything.
The kidnapping rate in Colombia is so high that most foreigners can't visit without having a disguise, as in like dyeing their hair or becoming tan. And there's an entire radio, like the largest radio station in Colombia is dedicated, like they have an entire segment dedicated to helping the people who were captive communicate with their families and loved ones.
They use the Americans when they hire them to do the job. They mostly use them for kidnapping and use the American women as mules to haul drugs over the borders.
The Colombian cartel ends up hiring mercenaries from foreign countries such as Australia to come and kill off other cartel leaders.
The wholesale of illicit drug sale earning estimates range from $13.6 billion to $48.4 billion annually, and with the people coming from Mexico to bring it into the United States, the violence is definitely a growing issue, and it's hard for the government to control this.
Colombia has found creative ways to smuggle drugs into the U.S. Right now, they are building submarines in the jungle, and they bring them to sea by their rivers. And in an average submarine, they can fit about 10 tons of cocaine in it.
One of the ways Colombia smuggles drugs across the border is they actually put them in their shoes. So now at airports they drill holes in your shoes and like destroy your personal property just to check to see if there are drugs.
Another creative way that Mexico has gotten their drugs across the border, they've had like younger kids move their trucks up to like a gate, and then they'll put a ramp up, and then they'll slide a ramp down, and they'll have the kids just drive right over.
Another way that the Mexicans are able to smuggle the drugs across the border is they will plan out the most busiest times to drive across the border, and they'll use a coffee truck to just load up the whole thing with marijuana.
My uncle, he married a Colombian woman, and they go to visit her family in the summer for a few months every year. And he says it used to be really bad in the past, and it got so extreme that he would actually get contacts and get a tan and dye his hair dark brown in order to appear more Colombian, because they kidnap a lot of Americans. And he says it's progressively gotten better, so he's not as terrified to be over there when they do visit.
Kind of personal. I have family who lives in New Mexico, and they lived in New Mexico for the bulk of their life, and they're older, and they've made friends by like going over the border and stuff just to like visit for a day, to Mexico. And it's definitely gotten worse over like the past like 10 years, because he's had friends that like will go over, friends of friends, and they'll get really hurt because of the Mexican cartel. So it's only getting worse or stronger.
Like I said earlier, the United States has a little bit to do with like all the violence that's going on in Mexico too, because I said that 90% of the firearms used by the Mexican cartels are from the U.S. And also, usually they get like women who have no criminal record or no history at all, and they buy the firearms a few at a time, and they give it to like their boyfriend or their uncle or whoever they know, and they have like a contact with the cartel, and then someone would like smuggle them across the border.